So in this video, we'll be talking about Young Thug, who is the founder of his own record label, YSL. And there are a lot of people who finding it hard to believe that many of their favorite artists are industry plants. And more than just industry plants, they are Mindy artists, which was a popular term that was, coined by a writer and an industry insider by the name of Nathan Slavic, who runs a website titled DJ Booth. Very credible website that has interviewed a lot of, artists in the industry. He says, making matters worse for my sanity, that paranoia often turned out to not be paranoia at all. We eventually learned that Young Thug really was signed to a mini deal years before Birdman snatched him up. So he also goes on to speak about Logic and how the rapper Logic admitted to being signed to Def Jam, but he was putting out mixtapes. He had the so-called mixtape grind. As explained in the previous video, the industry insider went on a dinner date and it was revealed to him he was having a conversation with an A&R. There were a lot of artists who sold the illusion that they were independent, but they were secretly signed to major labels. I even remember watching an interview. There was this CEO by the name of Travis O'Gwen, who was the founder of Strange Music, which is the label that the artist Tech Nine is signed to. But in this particular interview, he explained how everybody wanted to be independent, even if they were pretending to be independent, which I believe that he was selling the illusion as well. But he explained how TDE, who had Schoolboy Q, Kendrick Lamar, J-Rock, SZA, Interscope Records were in the background the entire time.
And at that time, there was this brand new startup called Fontana. Fontana was the storefront for Universal's independent distribution. People realized there was going to be a shift into more independent music. We was independent in 2000, 99, 2000, when this shit wasn't cool. Independent music in 2000 and rap, that wasn't sexy. That's not cool. And now it's like the thing, you know what I mean? Like everybody wants to be independent or at least claim independent. Even when they're not independent, they claim independent. You feel me? I watched, TDE. We did a partnership with them when I signed J-Rock. And we did a first right of refusal on everybody, Kendrick, Schoolboy, all those guys. And, they even after the deal on Kendrick, nobody knew that he still wasn't wholly independent for quite some time. They didn't know Interscope was in the background. But, independent is that new shit.
They're just selling the illusion of being independent because you'll buy into that story more. You'll buy into that come up. You'll believe it. It sounds realistic, right? And, you resonate with their story, them coming from the hood, them growing up around Crips and Bloods. But a lot of it is just only a facade. So that's why we could talk about Young Thug. So when people get in my comment section to say, well, you just say everybody is a plant. Yes. So to think that Kendrick Lamar, these are some of the premier names in rapping and music. So Kendrick Lamar, the Young Thugs of the world. If these big name artists were industry plants or secretly signed to major labels, then what would lead you to believe that a Glorilla, a Ice Spice, a Lil Baby, what would lead you to believe that none of these artists aren't plants and signed to major labels as well? So in this article, he spoke about Young Thug. See, when we look at a Young Thug allegedly put out a series of mixtapes before he signed to Gucci Mane's record label 1017, right? You have someone like Young Thug who goes through the artist development stage. They put him alongside a rapper like Gucci Mane who has this tough gangster persona, right? And that way, Gucci Mane's already famous. So you'll see Young Thug probably in the videos. He may get a song with Gucci Mane. And then the next phase, you see him get signed to Leor Cohen. For those of you who don't know who Leor Cohen is, he's an executive He was with Def Jam, and then he also had his own label, his so-called independent label. But a lot of those independent labels, as you heard Travis O'Gwen speak about, they put on this front as being independent, but they're secretly signed to major labels and getting funded from these big corporations. When I became aware of Young Thug was right around the time he put out that song, I'm a Stoner. I thought it was a cool record, but most records that really grabs people's attention are the party records. This record wasn't no party record. This wasn't a record that women could dance to, people could have fun. So I found it quite odd how that song just mysteriously popped up and went viral out of nowhere. You're not going to be able to have a mixtape and a mixtape just going to blow up, or a lot of these mixtapes that these artists may be putting out, right? They may be having features from mainstream artists. You know that it'll be difficult, especially getting a lot of the big names. Especially when I was in high school, we used to have sites like Dat Piff. I'm not sure if my mixtapes was out at the time. And then you had YouTube, artists would put their material on YouTube, right? But when you went on these mixtape platforms, you noticed that a lot of the artists who just came out of nowhere, right? And they get all these plays, all these downloads, right? Because they more than likely had a major label behind them, funding them the entire time. So by them manufacturing and having artists like Young Thug, you could control the narrative and you could just get them to do what you want them to do. So these artists, they already have resources. They already have these connections. That's why you see them being able to go on a Sway in the Morning and go on these different radio shows, and they have access to all these different popular blog sites. They could put these artists at and be right in the face where people is at, where a lot of traffic is being put at. But a lot of people think that it was just organic and it just happened overnight and they had this overnight success. But it's very rare that someone like a Birdman is just not going to go around and just pick up any old artist. And that's what people are failing to realize. A lot of this stuff is a facade. It's an illusion. And as the rapper Tootsie, he did an interview with DJ Academics, and he revealed that a lot of what you believe, like you think that these artists have all this money, but they don't. It took me a while to understand. It's almost like WWE. It's just entertainment. Just like Charleston White said, they're all characters. So a lot of these beefs, they aren't real. The masses, the majority of people have a group thinking mentality. So they may like something or they may be interested in something solely because they see other people that's into it. And they have other people that's following it. Other people love that artist. So I would be around people, around my cousin and a lot of his friends who are in the streets, right? They idolize these characters. They idolize the Young Jeezys of the world, the Gucci Manes. So when you have a Gucci Mane who would endorse someone like a Young Thug, it's like, all right, well, Gucci Mane a real one. I live vicariously through Gucci Mane. I wanted to be just like Gucci Mane. So if Gucci Mane is a real one, then he's only going to endorse the real. Let's talk about Young Thug's fashion and the way he dressed and a lot of the things that he say. A lot of things that people be disturbed by. Any normal person in the hood, if they were to wear these type of clothing, dress that type of way with the dresses and saying little, rainbow things, right? People would get bothered by it. And they would turn their backs on that person. They wouldn't even talk to them no more. They'd be like, man, get away from me with that. A lot of the crazy things that Young Thug says, he's been told to say. By him going out and saying a lot of these suspect things, it created headlines. By it created headlines, it was all over the blog sites. Then it would enter your subconscious. It enter your mind. But you would say, what? He said, what? And it just continued to make Young Thug more relevant. See, you may think, oh man, like, why would he even say that? But you're still going to listen to his music because his music is hypnotizing. The beat, they put a lot of the great writers around him. And they play this music over and over and over again till it's in your head. And then it doesn't do nothing but make him even a much bigger star. It's common knowledge by now that the industry is feminizing the men. So you need a young thug to go out there and be the poster boy and be the face of that. You need a young thug to go out there with the face tat, similar to Lil Wayne. He's just a pawn. He's just a clone to Lil Wayne, which create more clones. He was just a little more feminized with the different color hair, the face tattoos, the weird piercings, the feminine mannerisms, feminine behavior. All this was marketing to target our community, the Black community. And it's going to continue to feminize the men. But they tell you that there's this independent grind. But it takes a lot of time, a lot of years, a lot of luck. When you're independent, you got to pour in a lot of money. And that's what Young Thug became, a bigger star. But he was an industry plant the entire time.